Hi everyone, and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, the UK's only programme that's dedicated to your mental health and well-being. And as you can see, I'm out of the studio today. I've left my guests in the studio and I escaped, and I'm here in this beautiful lavender farm called Mayfield Lavender Farm. But we will be going to the studio to see our regular guests that we have on the show. So we're going to be covering a few different things on today's programme, and I have my real life story guest, Gordon Boateng, who's actually a speaker and a football manager. Now, unfortunately, he tragically lost a couple of close people to him to suicide, and he decided that he would do something about it to raise awareness. He also did this to raise some money, but the main focus, apart from raising money for charity, was actually to raise awareness about mental health issues and get people speaking. So he actually organised a charity football match between ex-professional football players and also TV personalities. So we'll be taking a look at that a bit later on. And he's actually been interviewed by our lovely Dr. Audrey Tang. And also actually Dr. Audrey Tang will be speaking about why people hide their feelings in the first place, and obviously the dangers of keeping things to ourselves. And we also have on Helena Chard, our news correspondent, who's going to be sharing some positive news with us. Also on today's programme, we have Natalia Kotowska, our fitness expert, showing us another great workout. And also, as it's National Childhood Obesity Week, we have our nutritionist Severine Menem on, and she's going to be giving us 5 ways that you can help children easily lose weight. And of course, we have Dr. Rob Hicks on to answer all of your medical questions, including one about whether it's safe or not to actually use expired hay fever tablets and nasal sprays. And finally, we also have on our resident autism correspondent, Anna Kennedy. She's brought on mother and daughters, Gemma and Sophia Owen. And actually, Sophia's going to be doing a lovely dance for us at the end of today's programme. So let's get started with our real life story guest, Gordon Boateng, being interviewed by Dr. Audrey Tang.
Thanks, Chrissy. Now, it's my pleasure to be here with well-respected football manager and mental health ambassador Gordon Boateng. Sadly, he has been through the experience when he's lost people to mental health issues because they weren't able to talk about it. And I'd like to ask you about that now. Tell us a little bit about your experiences and your friends.
Yeah, well, I had 2 players that played for my good self who were suffering, and I never knew. I think that's one of the hardest things. I feel that when there's a situation and you're not fully aware of it, because, you know, people tend to hide it very well. But one of the biggest things for me was just that understanding that they were going through that and I wasn't able to be there for them at that time. You know, so that was 2 players, and my wife also had her best friend's brother pass away as well, obviously, who took his own life, and none of us knew about that either. So that's been very, very traumatic for the family.
And did you notice any signs or anything at all? Were they just saying that they were fine?
Well, that's the thing. That's exactly what I'm saying, Dr. A. I think the biggest thing here is when people are in crisis or they're suffering, they've hid it so well. And I feel that with the 3 individuals that we're speaking about, they were able to hide it from us in that aspect. And I think it was one of them things that I'm saying to people now, listen, if you have a situation, come forward, speak about it, because listen, it's okay not to be okay. And yes, it's a cliche, but we really need to get that message out there. And that's the reason why we did the event now, which we are going to speak about shortly.
Because just to bring it to, it's really sad that it happened within the space of about 6 months, wasn't it?
6 months, yeah.
Very, very close together.
Yeah.
But yes, you say enough was enough, and you decided to do something about this and get the word out there that it's important to talk.
Definitely, Dr. A. I think one of the things from my perspective is I'm not someone that likes to do a lot of talking. I feel that, you know, action speaks louder than words. Be proactive, not reactive. I think that's so important. So I said to myself, along with my colleague, I'll say my colleague because she helped me massively, Pamela Johnson, in doing this and putting this together. Without her, things would have not been possible. So I got with her, we actually went through the process. We had to turn things around in 6 weeks, and I said, look, it's not just about the money we're going to raise. Let's raise the awareness. That's the most important thing, where we can actually stop it from the crisis element to it getting to the point of no return. That was important.
This is a really wonderful charity football match that you've put together in support of Mind.
That's correct.
And we do have some highlights for the viewers at home now.
Everyone knows how to play. It's a name.
Need more in aid of
Mind UK. Need more football.
Hi, I'm Amy Christopher's and I'm here today to present for my people football.
Mind UK.
Kojo comedian here, and we are here to Mind UK. What's going on, people? It's comedian Kojo, and we are here to need more mental health awareness with Mind UK.
Mind charity.
Mental health. You need more. It was fantastic charity.
Radio Roger here. You need more.
Bua the Slick Man. I'm here today to support mental health. Victory of Bua. Bigging up. Need more.
And you're watching Need More. I'm Chet Skett with Mind UK playing the tone.
Friend team needs one. Spin screen. Again, is a question.
It looks absolutely wonderful, and you raised so much money as well as so much awareness.
Listen, I think the money was great for Mind, Mid, Hearts and Mind Hearts Network. I think from their perspective, it was important for us to raise what we can for them to help doing the good things that they've been doing. But the most important thing was the awareness, and I feel that off the back of it, we was able to have people come forward who actually spoke to us about the things that they were going through and how they suffered. We had a young gentleman that came to me with his mum and actually said that due to the things that I had said on the day, and he listened to it and realised that 2 weeks prior he was thinking about taking his own life, and that he realised it's not just about him, it was about the effect it would have had on his mum and his family. And that's the thing that I'm saying to people, that it isn't just about the person in crisis. It's actually, you've got to think, yes, you're going through what you're going through, but you've got to think about the aftermath, what it's going to do to other people that are surrounding you. That's the key thing there as well.
With such a big project to undertake as well, and with such a clear message to give, how did you go about getting this, all the support, all of the people really up for pushing that idea forward?
It was about getting passionate people. Obviously I'm in the football industry. I know a lot of people within football. I personally suffered in my career, you know, off the back of when my career ended and I was going through my injuries and having to adapt from being a football player to actually now, you know, working in the real world, as they call it. And just feeling like, right, okay, what do I have to do to get to that? And I had a stage where, you know, I would say about 2 months where, you know, I cut myself from the world in the aspect of me just trying to find myself again and seeing what I have to do. But when, you know, bills doesn't wait for you in that aspect. And I think, you know, I was able to have the mental strength, which I think is so important, that not everybody has that. And, you know, now there's some fantastic people, which I found with mine, where they give you the opportunity, if you want to get away, that they have places that you can go to just to get away. Don't have your phones, just be there and just, you know, take yourself away from the scenario.
That's fantastic. And what are your next steps? What are the next plans now?
Dr. A, you're killing me here. But no, I have committed to doing it every year. I think it's important that, you know, the awareness, it doesn't stop here. We don't just do it one off and just say that's enough. It's, you know, I feel that people, you know, there's 1 in 4, you know, the statistics speak with regards to the people that are suffering and the people that are in crisis. So it is about, can we raise as much awareness, keep doing what we can. So we are going to do small projects throughout the year, but, you know, primarily from a football perspective, we're going to have an event, you know, once a year. Pamela and I are going to actually do that. And as I said, without her, trust me, I could have never done it, because, you know.
It's not just the match, is it? It's the post-event talks and discussion that's really important as well. What are some of the key messages you'd like to get across there?
One of the key messages, I hope it's this camera that I'm looking at right here, is please, there are people you can talk to. I know it's not easy. I know you feel that your nearest and dearest don't understand. They may say to you, it's okay, and you're feeling, well, look, it's not okay. There are professional people you can speak to, so make sure you get in contact. Feel free, because don't suffer alone. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You need to believe that. It's not easy, I understand. Life is not easy, but you can come back and you can live a good life going forward.
What would you like to see being done in the football industry to support mental health?
I think one of the biggest things, especially because it's so rife at the minute, is a lot more clubs having events where they are talking about this. And I think it's important for the grassroots element that it starts from there, because I feel our kids nowadays, they're suffering, and we don't know, you know, from the likes of them being bullied, lots of different things. You know, some of them are suffering from anxiety. It's about, how do they deal with it? Who else can they talk to? How can they come forward and talking about it? So from a football perspective, it's about us allowing them to have the opportunity to have the outlets so that they're able to talk to more people about things like that, really.
Thank you so much, Gordon. It's a real pleasure to speak with you.
Listen, Dr. A, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for your time.
Back to you, Chrissy.
Thank you very much to Gordon there and to Audrey. Well, do join us for more after the break. Dr. Audrey Tang is back to be talking about why people actually maybe hide their feelings and don't talk about their mental health. And also, Helena Chard is back with this week's A Helping of Happy.
I think anything that raises the profile of mental health and gets us talking about it is a really positive thing. I think it's a really good conversation starter, and it sort of raises the profile of mental health, and hopefully everyone who's here today can go home and talk to their families about what they've done today, and the conversation can continue.
Welcome Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, the UK's only TV programme dedicated to mental health and well-being. And now I'll be speaking about why people hide their mental health issues and what we can do to help. The term smiling depression is probably one of the best examples of a method of coping when it comes to hiding our mental health issues and concerns. It's not a type of depression itself, but what it is often because somebody wants to feel very strong or needs to put on a brave face. Perhaps they have children, perhaps they're afraid of how their work's going to take it, perhaps they don't know who to talk to. They may smile, they may say, I'm fine, they may say it's nothing to bother you about because they don't want to be a burden. The biggest problem about hiding our feelings is that if we get to the point of crisis, it can be very difficult to step back from. It's also really important to remember that some people may not speak about mental health issues because they've been brought up in a culture where there is a stigma still attached. Even though we are more likely to talk about mental health nowadays, it still doesn't take away years upon years of people being told to keep a stiff upper lip and not trouble anybody. Even now, which is very positive, they're now calling mental health support things like stress consultancy rather than a stress counsellor, because that may help people come forward a little bit more. Also, we might not talk to people because we don't know how they're going to respond. It might be we've tried speaking to someone and they haven't been able to help us, and that may make us afraid of doing so in future. The second question is, what can we do about this? We need to remember that mental health is a collective conversation. The more aware we are and the more we learn before helping somebody at that point of crisis, the better our help may be. It may be worth noticing patterns, such as, is somebody not paying as much attention to their personal grooming anymore? Are they making more mistakes? Perhaps their body language has changed. Perhaps they're looking a little bit more down than usual. If we can recognise whether they're saying things differently, such as speaking in all or nothing statements, or whether they're behaving in a way that is uncharacteristic, perhaps they've gained a lot of weight or perhaps they've lost a lot of weight, we might be able to say to them, is there something wrong? And then, if we are aware of what we can do to support, such as signpost somebody to a phone number or a website and be with them in order to help them with that, that can actually make a huge difference. The third issue to talk about is what actually happens if we don't seek help. Well, one of the first things is we may miss out on the tools that could help us, because if we do speak to a professional, they may be able to give us ways of being able to manage those emotions, manage those feelings, and be able to live with those uncomfortable concerns that we may have. Also, if we do get to a point where it is past the point of crisis, it's very difficult, as I said before, to pull back from it. But also, if our body has physically become exhausted, even with the best will in the world, we may not be able to pull ourselves out of it. So it is really important, if we can, to speak to somebody that we trust. But similarly, it's as important, if we're trying to help, to maybe learn a little bit more, watch out for the signs, and be able to support somebody by signposting them too. The whole thing is, it is possible to manage whatever concerns we might have, and anyone can flourish in any environment as long as they have the right tools to do so. And now it's time to go over to news correspondent Helena Chard in this week's A Helping of Happy, bringing positive news to your screens. Hi Helena, it's so exciting I can do this segment with you.
Isn't it exciting? It's really exciting.
So what positive news have you got today?
I've got a sort of mixed bag really to do with everything, but firstly, just surprising that 35% of the British people are just not watching the news, and they've switched off completely because obviously it's making everyone depressed. So my helping of happy, which is positive solution focused news, is really beneficial, so important. So beginning with a large UK study of 17,000 children born between 2000 and 2002. And it's the correlation, it's suggesting that obesity and mental health are closely linked. And obese 7-year-olds are at greater risk of suffering emotional problems, so anxiety, mood swings, when they reach 11. And it gradually increases throughout childhood. So it's obviously not as simple as eating less. There's lots of things involved. But it obviously strengthens the case that early prevention of overweight children is so, so important.
Yes, yeah. It's educating parents as well,
yes,
isn't it?
Absolutely. And also, because they're intertwined, obesity and emotional problems, it highlights as well Chrissy's successful MHD challenge,
yes,
which is absolutely perfect in this instance. So congratulations to our very own Chrissy B on introducing the idea and taking it to schools, because I mean it's so educational. It's so educational. It promotes communication, obviously talking about mental health. The movement is in it as well, and obviously, you know, people are not feeling isolated because talking about mental health, and it's just so helpful. So I just think it's just so amazing, and to talk about the MHD challenge all the time because it is so successful.
Yeah.
So we're very, very proud.
It's brilliant, definitely.
Moving on to Dean Woods. He's a young man based in Wales, and he recently shared his story, which I found quite interesting, something I hadn't quite thought about. He is certainly not surprised that obesity is overtaking smoking as the biggest Welsh health risk, and I think probably everywhere, but quite predominantly in Wales. He used to weigh 28 stone, and he has changed his lifestyle, lost 13 stone in a year, so well done to him. And now he's backing a cancer research campaign, and it's to prevent new fast food outlets opening near schools. And this is what his problem was. So when he was younger, he used to leave school and he used to eat at these fast food outlets regularly.
Well, it's quick, isn't it? You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, just grabbing food. So obviously he wasn't educated, and it's so important to create healthy environments. So, you know, to help support people in making healthier choices.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think super.
Well, if healthier food is easier to access and is reasonably priced as well, then it's an easier choice to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh. So we don't want these fast food places near schools, do we? Which is good. Award-winning vlogger Nikki Lilly. She's 14 now, but she's actually been vlogging since she was 6.
Oh my goodness.
And she is amazing, so eloquent and inspiring. It's been eloquent since she was about 6, but she was on the morning programme recently. She's got a visible chronic illness, AVM it's called, and she's got a facial disfigurement, but she has very down days. But it's so simple the way she says it. I don't know if I can convey this, but you know, some people like her can feel really alone and isolated, and just by talking about her bad days, people can associate it and relate to it, and obviously it brings everyone together, and it's that feeling of feeling supported.
Well, that's
like
it,
a community.
because it is. Mental health is such a conversation that we all need to have, and that sense of well-being is something that we can all be part of, and it's wonderful.
So that was just a really lovely clip of her, and she's a super girl. Moving on to a report by Bernardo's, shared basically support workers' concerns that overexposure to the internet can affect children's communication skills, which we know about, but you know, children 5 and under are getting addicted to social media and internet, etc., and it's taking them away from time with their family, and key apprehensions of failure to think, you know, failure to create, and basically they're not managing their own emotions and able to develop. So it's quite alarming. People like Selena Gomez has decided to switch off from Instagram because it was making her depressed, but she's of an age where at least she can do that. It's great that she's done it, she's taken that decision, but you know, if you're 4, 5...
Well, this is the thing, it's something I've always recognised in myself, that I use it as a social media tool because it helps business, but it's not something that I've grown up with. But when you've grown up with it, it's a very different situation. Your connection with social media becomes extremely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got more, but I think we've come to the end, Audrey.
We have indeed. Oh my goodness, that's just flown by.
Shame.
Thank you so much, Helena.
Thank you, Audrey.
And now it's time for our workout of the week with fitness expert Natalia Kotowska.
Hey guys, it's me, NK Duwood with Nat, your fitness instructor, and today I prepare for you amazing lower body circuit. Quite hard, but I'm sure you can do it, so stay with me. 3 exercises, 60 seconds long each, one after another with 1 minute break in between, and I'm gonna repeat that 3 times. First one, so you go all the way down, reverse lunge, and you go all the way up. High up, you jump, push off of your calf, and you go 30 seconds one leg, only that. 30 seconds one leg. Once you're done, you change it to another leg. All the way up, as high as you can, knee as close to the floor as possible. And breathe. Keep breathing and keep going. 30 seconds each leg, that gives you 60 seconds. First exercise. Second one, we go to the side, to the side. In, high knee, as fast as you can for 1 minute long. Breathe. That's the second one. Third one, stay with me, it's gonna get harder. You go all the way down. You jump, change directions. You jump, change directions. You go forward, back. Yeah, got it? One more time. All the way down. Change direction, forward, back. Woo! I'm already super tired and we have to go for 60 seconds, non-stop. Again, 3 exercises, 60 seconds long, 1 minute break. Repeat that block 3 times. How do you think? How do you think you can do it? I'm sure you can. So stay with me, work out with us, and I see you later.
Thank you very much to Natalia there. Well, do stay tuned because after the break, we're going to be speaking to nutritionist Severine Menem, and she's going to be talking about 5 ways that you can help your children lose weight if they need to. And also Dr. Rob Hicks will be answering your medical questions, including this one. Is it safe to use expired hay fever tablets, eye drops and nasal sprays? Hi, I'm Chrissy B, host of the UK's only TV programme dedicated to mental health and well-being, The Chrissy B Show, which airs on MyTV Sky 191 every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Follow our social media on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter at Chrissy B Show and our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. For more information, visit chrissybshow.tv. Welcome back everyone to today's Chrissy B Show, and as you can see I'm filming in a beautiful location today, Mayfield Lavender Farm. So up next it's Severine Menem, our nutritionist, and it's actually National Childhood Obesity Week, and she's going to be giving us 5 ways that you can help children lose weight quickly.
Thank you, Chrissy. So yes, today we're going to speak about childhood obesity because it's National Childhood Obesity Week. And as we know, obese children often lead to obese adults, and with obesity comes a number of diseases such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, or even certain cancer. So on top of that, when children are overweight, they tend to have some stigma and also low self-esteem and often are bullying. So that's why it's important to do something as soon as we can. So the first thing is to know whether your child is actually a bit overweight, obese, or completely normal. And the best thing to do is to Google BMI calculator NHS. BMI stands for the body mass index, and it's a measurement that allows you to know where your children would fit according to their peers. It's very simple. All you need to know is their height, their weight, their date of birth, if it's a boy or a girl, and when the latest measurements were done. And when you enter all this data and you hit the calculate button, this gives you an idea of where your child would be. So you have to remember it's just a guideline, it's not fixed and everything can be changed. But it's good to know where your child is currently. And from then you can start doing some things. So here are my 5 tips to help them lose weight if they need to. The first one is not actually linked to nutrition, and I think it's important to know that nutrition is important, but it's not everything. I believe that children nowadays don't have enough physical activities, either because of what happened at school or just because they don't spend enough time outside. We have we are very lucky here in London. We have a lot of parks, but sometimes people live far from parks, or the parks are too small, or don't have any activities for children, or just, the weather is really bad. We have a very bad spring this year. So we have to get creative and to find ways to get children to run and jump and do all the activities they have to do. So my second tips would be to look at sleep. I'm not aware of any specific study between sleep, children and weight loss, but what I know from adults is when adults don't sleep enough, even if it's just one night, then the following day to be really hungry, never satisfied with any food and attracted by the wrong type of food. And I have a 3.5-year-old son, and I noticed that when he doesn't get his normal hours of sleep, he has exactly the same behavior. He serves himself very large portions, always is hungry and always go for the sweet stuff. So I do believe by these observations and observing other children that there is actually a good link between they would benefit from sleeping more. Also, sleep encourages the growth hormones, which means that they would grow taller, and even if they are the same weight, the BMI would be improved. My third tips is actually starts being about nutrition. It's about hydration. Lots of people and children as well confuse being hungry for being thirsty, and I don't understand why that water is not just the only drink available. There are so many other choices at the moment with fruit juices and other type of drinks, and I understand the government is making so much effort to cut down on sugar, but most of the time it's replacing sugar by sweeteners, which actually triggers the same thing, developing a taste for sweets. So the best thing to do is really to stick to water. And if your child is used to drinking juices, just ask him or her to start with drinking a large glass of water, and then they can have their juice. And most of the time, they will be a lot slower to drink the juice, because once you have a glass of water, it's harder to drink more liquid. My next tip is about adding more protein and more fat to the diet, because carbohydrates tends to be the food that most children have, and they are digested very easily. That's why they tend to be hungry. But because proteins and fats are very complex molecules, it takes a lot longer for it to be broken down. And that's why generally people say, it gets you fuller for longer. So if you add those type of food at all meals, including snacks, children are more likely not to feel hungry. And last but not least, I believe that children should eat a lot more vegetables. We know how easily children choose, pasta, pizza, or even potatoes in any form. But if they switch that for vegetables, that would be so much easier, because they are less calorific and full of the good nutrients, the proteins, the vitamins, the minerals and the fibers. And I know this is hard for most children to get their veggies. I get it, I have this son and I know it's hard. But it's not impossible. It's about patience and perseverance. And you just have to find the way for them to eat the veggies, So you have to try to have them eat raw or cooked, different types of cooking, maybe adding some herbs, some spices, even sometimes a bit of ketchup, or cutting them in special shapes may make the difference. And if it still doesn't work, you can always hide them in juices or soups, or even quiche or stir fry. So it is possible. It takes time, but it is really possible for them to eat their vegetables. So here are my 5 tips. Just to recap, the first one is to move more, to sleep better, to drink a lot of water instead of juices, add more protein and good fats to their diet, and last but not least, concentrate on the vegetables. I hope you have found these tips useful, and please let us know how it works for your children.
Hello and welcome to Doctor's Answers. I'm Dr. Rob Hicks, and if you want to send me a question, then the email address is doctor@chrissybshow.tv. Can't wait to get more of your questions. So let's crack on with today's programme's questions. And the first one is about hay fever tablets and medication. It says, is it safe to take expired hay fever tablets, eye drops and nasal sprays? I have some left over and I don't want to waste them or spend more money on new ones if I don't have to. I think that's a very reasonable question, and the simple answer is no. You shouldn't take any medication that's gone past its expiry date for a couple of reasons. One is it may not be safe to do so, and the other is that the medication may not be as effective. So well done for actually checking the expiry dates. We should all check our medication expiry dates before we take any medication to make sure that they're still within date and that it's okay to take. And a little note of warning, don't get rid of expired medication by throwing it in the bin or flushing it down the toilet. Take it back to your pharmacist so that he or she can dispose of it safely. Now, with regards to hay fever, it's a good idea to start taking any medication that you use, whether that be tablets, a nasal spray or eye drops, a month or so before you're likely to get your symptoms, to give your body a chance to be prepared for when it's faced with the onslaught of pollen. And think about how you avoid pollen in the first place when it's around. So wraparound sunglasses, for example, very, very good at protecting the eyes from pollen. Using a nasal balm that you smear around the entrance to the nostrils, that should catch the pollen and stop it from getting into the nose where it can trigger allergy responses. And if you keep an eye on the pollen forecast, and the pollen count is going to be very high on that day, ideally, if you can, stay indoors with the windows closed. If you have to go out, then make sure when you come back in that you strip off your clothes, have a shower and wash your hair. And that way you won't be dispersing pollen around your home where it can later cause you problems. So our next question is, I get the odd nosebleed when the weather is hot. Is this anything to worry about? Well, probably not. It's probably nothing to worry about because most of us get a nosebleed every now and then. And what triggers them is either some damage to the lining of the nostrils, or when there's a change in the lining of the nostrils. So in your case, it might be because of the hot weather, your nostrils are getting dried out. And we know that if they get dried out, they're more likely to develop nosebleeds. Trauma, well, it's picking the nose and blowing the nose too hard that's usually responsible. I would say to you, though, if you are getting them on a regular basis, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have a checkup with your GP, because sometimes nosebleeds can occur because of somebody having high blood pressure, or it might be because they've got a problem with the clotting mechanism within their blood, or it might be because you're on a medication, something that thins the blood, an anticoagulant like warfarin, for example, where nosebleeds are far more likely. But it sounds to me that you've got a pattern where in high temperatures, the nosebleed occurs, and that's probably because the nasal lining is getting dried out. So what you can do is actually keep the nostrils moist by using a saltwater nasal spray and humidifying any room that you're in. And that way you may find, and hopefully you'll find, you're less likely to suffer nosebleeds. But I would say to you that if they're happening on a frequent occurrence and you can't really pinpoint what's causing them, get it checked out. Now it's time to get back to you, Chrissy.
Thank you very much to Dr. Rob Hicks. So after the break, we're going to be joined by our resident autism correspondent, Anna Kennedy, for the latest updates. And she's brought along two guests, mother and daughter, Gemma and Sophia Owen.
Are you watching Moses and the 10 Commandments on MyTV? If not, don't miss out on this amazing story that will touch your heart and catch your attention. From Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on MyTV. And don't forget to follow our Facebook and Instagram page.
Welcome back to today's Chrissy B Show, everybody, and I'm filming here in the lovely Mayfield Lavender Farm. So now it's time to head over to Anna Kennedy, who's our resident autism correspondent, and she's brought along her guests, Gemma and Sophia Owen.
It's great to be back on Chrissy B, and what a busy time I've had. We've just come back from St Ives where everyone totally smashed it. We had Harvey Price, who actually performed for us on stage, and his mum was so proud of him, and I was so proud of everyone. Today my guests are Gemma and Sophia. And how lovely are you looking, Sophia? And you're going to be dancing for us very soon.
Mm-hmm.
So how was it for you at St Ives?
It was great. It just felt like magic. It feels like magic every show, but...
So how long have we known each other now, Gemma? Would you say about 2 years?
2 years
Yeah,
now.
2 years.
Yep.
So we met at Pineapple Performing Arts.
We did.
Where Sophia got a Pineapple scholarship. So you've been at the studio now doing singing, dancing and acting. And which is your favourite?
To be honest, I actually I can't pick one because I like them all the same.
So you're a triple threat then, that you like them all.
Yes.
Okay, Gemma, so obviously Sophia's been going for a couple of years and I can see how she's blossomed and how she really loves what she's doing. So if we can just talk a little bit about, you're a mum.
Yeah.
You've got 5 children. You don't look old enough to have 5 children.
I'm covering it well.
And you've got 3 children that are on the spectrum.
Yes.
And you've recently just been diagnosed yourself, as in, well, you were diagnosed a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then you shared it with the family. So how was that for you?
It was hard coming out, all the anxieties and my emotions, because I was thinking, am I doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking, well, I shouldn't really be ashamed because I'm me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I needed to make people understand how I was, and when I was not coping with things, it made them people realise that, yeah, she's got her ways and
okay,
she
so
needs to get on.
how did you cope when you were at school? Because obviously you must have had difficulties, or maybe you didn't.
Friendship-wise, I was all right actually with friendships. Sometimes I couldn't cope with a lot of crowd and change.
Mm-hmm.
Work I wasn't very good with.
So what sort of things at work did you find difficult?
Just in general, the classroom, the noise.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was put at the back a lot because I was classed as a naughty child.
I've heard that so many times.
I didn't get the input, and I think maybe if I'd have had the input, I maybe would have got somewhere, because I did like school.
Mm-hmm.
I just, maybe because I was treated and because I was a naughty child, I just then rebelled and just carried on.
So if you were to give some advice to somebody that's just recently been diagnosed, what advice would you give them?
I'd say just keep fighting because, you know, there is a lot more now, more awareness than what there was when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it is hard to get that support. Once you've got the support, 9 times out of 10 I'd like to say, you know, you've got it in place, but...
And you've got a rock of a husband that's really supporting you. Because how long have you been married now?
Been married 15 years last week.
Last week? Oh, congratulations.
Yes.
So that's 15 years, 5 children. So you're not doing so bad.
No, yeah, he's definitely my rock.
Oh, that's great. So if you don't mind me asking, when your husband found out you had a diagnosis, how did he cope with that, or was he okay with it?
He was absolutely fine, because we obviously spoke about it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, very supportive. And again, it's made him understand, but I obviously had the other children that were diagnosed before me.
So what diagnosis, and how old are your children?
I've got Tyler, who is 16, he has ASD.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got Finley, who's 15, he's ASD with ADHD.
So that's autistic spectrum condition with ADHD.
Yeah,
okay.
And then Sophia also has ASD and ADHD.
Okay. So how do you find it when you're at school, Sophia? So things that you find hard or things that you find easy?
I find most lessons quite easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing quite good in maths and English.
That's great.
I love music and art. I've been doing a lot of garage band.
Garage bands, okay. So you're going to be dancing for us a little bit later on, and you actually improvised the whole number, so I'm really impressed with that. How do you create the number? So do the words talk to you, or how does it work for you?
I just go along with like music, and it's like the music is like what I follow and all that.
So you interpret what the song is about, yeah?
Yeah.
So what kind of dance would you say would be your favourite, and what's your big dream?
I don't know.
You don't know yet? Would you like to be a dancer on stage in the musicals in the West End? Yeah?
Yeah.
So you haven't thought about it yet, you've got plenty of time.
To be honest, I've got so many stuff in my head.
Okay. So, Mum, you're obviously very proud of Sophia, and we're going to see her dance very soon, towards the end. And I'm really looking forward to it, so I'm really looking forward to what you've created. And it's back now over to Chrissy.
Thank you very much to Anna and to Gemma and Sophia, and also to all my guests on today's programme. So I just want to draw in on something that Gordon and Audrey were talking about. You know, as you know, Gordon was speaking about losing a couple of close people to him to suicide. And when a person reaches that point where they want to take their own lives, it's because they really, really think that there's no other solution for them. But let me tell you something, depression and quite a few mental health issues, they can be very, very manipulative, and you need to see something like depression, especially when it's kind of telling you that there's no other way and that it's better to end your life. It is a big liar. All those thoughts, those very negative thoughts, are lies. They are absolute lies, and try to see depression and these things as a toxic friend. A toxic friend will always want what's bad for you, will always want you to see you fail, will always want to see you down. And that's what depression is like. It kind of lies and tells you that it's a part of you and that this is your life, but it's always also trying to drive you to do things that are not going to benefit you. So anytime that you feel that way, remember, when you feel suicidal, it is just a feeling, a very powerful feeling. So the best thing that you need to do, the best thing you can do, is to reach out immediately. Don't let those thoughts fester. Don't let those feelings fester and make you think that, you know, there's no way. It's a lie, a big lie. I know so many people that felt suicidal and also attempted suicide more than once, and their lives are completely different. They're happy today, they're doing so well in life, they're inspiring and helping other people. They don't have suicidal thoughts anymore. So imagine if they'd listened to those thoughts. Imagine if those suicide attempts had actually been successful. So you see, you can actually change your story. You can be an inspiration to someone in the future. So remember, always remember this. If you take nothing else from the show today, just remember, life can always get better, but you need to be alive to make that happen. So we have reached the end of today's program, but if you have a story that you would like to share, please do email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet or Instagram us @ChrissyBShow, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And if you'd like to know more about my mental health journey and the struggles that I had in the past, you can visit my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. But just before we go, we have a lovely performance by Sophia Owen.
Yesterday I fell asleep at night. I woke up in a spaceship traveling at the speed of light. Everything feels so misplaced. The sky is at my feet and the ground above my head. I'm landing on a star with little flying cars, but I feel like I already know this place. It was the first time our eyes collided. I wish that I could see your face again. talk without words. Spread my arms, close my eyes, and take off like a bird. And I'm landing on a star with a little flying cars. But I feel like I already know this place. It was the last time our eyes collided. I wish that I could see your face again. I think I fell in love with an alien. I wish that I could see your face again. I think I fell in love with an alien. Everything feels so right. The trees grow backwards and the rain falls upside down. I hate to see her cry, but I have to say goodbye. And maybe you come visit me on